Hello kids, welcome to the session at Learn Forward platform by Feathergo. I'm your English facilitator Garima Singh to make your learning easy and fun. So let's begin. Hope you all are ready with your books Fly High grade 4. So now today we'll be reading chapter 7, The Boy Who Wanted to Read. So it's the story about a boy who loved reading, right? This story is about Louis Braille who invented Braille system. Let's read the story to find out why he left the need to invent, why he felt the need to invent Braille system and how he did it. So this is a story about Louis Braille. Now who is Louis Braille? Okay. Louis Braille was a boy who invented Braille. Now what is Braille? Braille is a special, writing for the people who cannot see, who whose vision is impaired, right? So it's a Braille is a system which helps the people with their impaired vision to read. So before this, we have a small activity, so you can all read it and you can all do it with your partners. So now let's read the story. There was a time not long ago when most people thought that the blind could never learn to read, because see, if you do not have eyes, now now you all of you do one thing. All of you close your eyes for a moment. All of you close your eyes, closed. Now if I ask you to read, can you all read? Can you all read? Close your eyes and try to read. Okay, now you can open your eyes. Were you all able to read? No, we cannot read. Why? Because if your eyes are closed, similarly, for the people, whose vision is impaired, who cannot see, who are blind, for them, it is similar to the feeling of, it's similar to your feeling of getting your eyes closed and, their impaired vision. So, they cannot read because they cannot see, right? It was believed that the only way to read was to look at words with your eyes. So it was believed that only you can read if you have your ears, your eyes properly functioning. A young French boy named Louis Braille thought otherwise and made books come alive for the blind. So he was the boy who made books for the blind people. I am not feeling good, even while using this word blind. The year was 1812. In a small town near Paris, 3-year-old Louis was playing in his father's workshop. Mr. Braille made leather objects and had many special tools. So his father, he used to work in a workshop and he used to make objects using leather. And for making leather objects, he used to use different tools. Little Louis often spent time the day playing there. Stay away from those nails, Mr. Braille instructed Louis. So now, because the dad knew that the tools were really sharp and could, hurt Louis Braille, so his father used to say that it's better to stay away from these tools. Louis nodded. He looked intently, when you are with great attention that yes, I have to do this. Or at times it happens when the teacher is explaining some concept and you have that very great intent to understand that yes, I will do it, and with great attention you try to understand the concept carefully. So with great attention, he was looking at the things very attentively his father made. Curious little Louis. Curious is very anxious. What happens is if mama says, do not open this box, you are curious. I want to open it. The more the parents say, do not do it, the more curious and anxious you are. मम्मा ने मना क्यों किया है ना? हम जिस चीज को मना करते हैं वो तो करना ही है. Children, do not play with sharp objects. क्यों मैम ऐसा क्यों कह रही है? Let me try it once. So, at times we get very curious, we get very anxious to know why the person had said no to it. All right. Curious little Louis decided to try his hand with the tools too, despite father saying no to it. But again, he wanted to try. He picked up an awl, a sharp pointed stick. See, this is an awl. A sharp pointed stick with a wooden handle. Mr. Braille used to make holes in leather using this tool. While playing with the awl, Louis' hand slipped. So while he was playing, his hand slipped. He let out a loud cry. Mr. Braille rushed to his son, but damage was already done. The awl had hit one of Louis' eyes. Oh my God. So, while using this awl, he hurt his eye. We are going to take you to a doctor, Mr. Braille cried, carrying his son on the street. So he was so sad, upset, and he was crying. And the dad was crying and, consoling his son that don't worry, we are taking you to the doctor. However, within a few days, the wound got infected. At times, it does happen that if you get an injury, the wound gets, some infection sort of a thing. The infection spread to Louis' other eye and the boy became blind. So from one eye, the infection spread and it expanded to the next eye and he got blind. As he grew older, Louis learned to adapt. Adapt means live like a normal life despite his handicaps. When you learn to adapt to environment, when you learn to adjust to the environment. So adaptation is when you learn to adjust to the surroundings, to the environment, to the prevailing situations. He went to school with all his friends and did well in his studies. He was intelligent and creative. Most importantly, Louis was determined not to let his disability slow him down one bit. So, he always kept his spirits high, being, having this vision impairment. He never let this, disability come in his way of success. He was very determined and he never used to cry, he never used to crib, and he never used to have that sympathy. He was strong enough and he felt that he was a normal boy. Soon Louis heard of a special school in Paris for blind students. He didn't think twice about going, so he did not have a second thought. He immediately decided to go there. Louis packed his bags and went off to study there. See how determined he was. And what happens with us is like at times when we get, when we hurt our finger, when we hurt our, knees or something like that, we come up with excuses. Ma'am, I could not do my homework because I had a cut on my finger. Ma'am, I cannot run. I cannot have the games period today because I have a wound. I have injured my leg. So he was not of that kind. He was very strong and very determined. At the school, Louis realized that there were special books for the blind to read. Valentin Haw, I'm not able to pronounce, I think it can be Hay, it can be Haw, okay? So we will just say Valentin. Valentin, the founder of this school, had made books with large letters that were raised up of the page. So Valentin was the one who created books. He punched the content in such a way that it was embossed. All right, ubhra hua. Since the letters were so big, the books were bulky, definitely. Heavy, books were heavy. Also, they were expensive to make. The school had exactly 14 of them. Feeling each letter with his fingertips, Louis set about reading the books in the school library. Now, such content has to be felt. The letters, the numbers, they have to be felt with your fingertips. So it is like this. You feel and then you read. Like at times what happens, we ask your friend, we play that game. No, okay, you write on my back and I'm going to guess the letter, right? Similarly. Where were we? Okay. However, this was a long and difficult task. It took a few seconds to read each word. So by the time he reached the end of a sentence, Louis almost forgot what the beginning of the sentence was about. So it used to take so long that he used to forget the initial words. There must be a better way, Louis said to himself. And as he soon found out there was. So he said, nay, there has to be some better way. All right. Louis thought long and hard about a way for the visually impaired to read. Others had created symbols that could be read by touch. However, this finger reading was slow and difficult and the symbols were very complex. Okay, so this process used to take time. Louis wanted an alphabet code to make reading by touch quick and easy. So because he was very creative, so he wanted to have an alphabet code to make reading by touch quick and easy. See, definitely it has to be by touch, but then he wanted to have some quick way. As fate would have it, Lewis soon got the chance he was looking for. He heard about something called night writing. So he was so much into it, searching, exploring, that soon he got to know about night writing, designed by Captain Charles Barbier. The French army used this method to read messages in the dark. So this was used by the French army to read the messages in the dark. And let me underline this also because we have the questions related to this. At night, soldiers could not read written messages because they would need light to read it. If they lit a match, the light might attract the enemy's attention, right? So they used to have this type of code. Instead, they used an alphabet code made up of small dots and dashes. The symbols were raised up off the paper so that the soldiers could read them by running their fingers over them. Lewis tried out the code. He saw that it was good, but he wanted to improve his further. He found this night writing good, but then, he wanted to improvise it. On this next vacation home, Lewis spent all his time working on this system of writing. As he sat there in his father's leather shop, Lewis picked up one of the awls. Oh my God, again. The idea came to him in a flash. In no time, the idea clicked. The very tool that had caused him to go blind would now help him to read. Over the next few days, he worked on an alphabet made up entirely of 6 dots. The position of the different dots created the different letters of the alphabet. So now he came up with the different fonts, the different style in which an alphabet was made up of 6 dots. Okay. The position of the dots created the different letters of the alphabet. So the positioning of the dots was different and this made the alphabet different from each other. Lewis used a blunt awl, blunt that is not sharp, to punch out a sentence. Holding his breath, he read it quickly. Everything made sense. His plan had worked. Lewis had invented a new system of reading and writing for the blind, and the boy was only 15 years old. This system of reading and writing is used all over the world today, and it is known as Braille. Today, the blind can read maps in Braille. Special Braille computers enable them to work and connect with the online world too. So that is really great. Since Lewis loved music, he also created a musical code in Braille. Wow. This helps the blind read musical notes and helps them to compose tunes. A few years ago, India issued a rupee 2 coin to mark the 200th birth anniversary of Louis Braille. Really great, very good. The coin bears his portrait and also has his name written in Braille. In many countries, there are Braille symbols on currency notes, in order to pay gratitude, in order to show respect. This helps the blind identify the value of the notes, and this helps the blind to identify the value of the notes. So they have made it so simple for the blind people. However, all this was possible only because of a blind boy with a dream. Louis Braille not only achieved his dream to read and write, but also helped thousands of people across the world to read and write too. Wow, so motivating, right? So despite being blind, he was so much inspired that he really wanted to help the people who were blind. So that was a great story, motivating and inspiring one, and I'm having goosebumps all over that a child of 15 years, right, developed this system. So now let's come to the exercise. Choose the correct option which can be substituted for the given words or sentence. A room or a hall where a collection of books, etc. is kept that can be looked at, or borrowed. So which is that room which has a collection of books? It's the library. Next, which of the following words is correctly spelled? So which is the correct spelling of anniversary? It is the B one. Which of the following words means the same as doubt? So doubt is realize. Next, we have the extract. Based on it, we need to answer the questions. Where did little Louis lived? He lived in a small town which was near Paris. Which objects did Mr. Braille make? He used to make objects from leather. Louis was dash years old in 1812. He was just 3 years old. Little Louis spent the day in the workshop. True. Next extract. What had hit Louis' eye? And all, which was a tool his father used to use to make holes in the leather object, hurt his eye. Mr. Braille cried, carrying his son on the street. The infection spread to Louis' other eye also. Absolutely correct. How did Louis Braille become blind? So Louis, whenever he used to be free, he used to spend time with his dad in his workshop. And one day, despite his father warning him not to use the tools, he tried his hand on an awl. It slipped from his hand and he hurt his eye. Eventually, the infection spread into his other eye and he got blind. Next, who made books come live for the blind? So, who was that? It was who made books come live for the blind? Let me check. It was, let me check. Who made, there's some confusion. Okay, we'll just leave it out and I'll just get back to you for this one. At what age Louis Braille became blind? He was just 3 years old. Who designed night riding? So who was the one who designed night riding? It was Captain Charles Barbier, and this was used by the French army. Who was the founder of a special school for blind in Paris? It was Valentin. Okay. Who made books come live for the blind? Okay, let's leave it out and we'll do it. Okay, now coming to the fill in the blanks. Stay away from those nails. Mr. Braille instructed Louis. Louis was intelligent and creative. The Dash army used night writing. The French army used night writing method to read messages in the dark. In many countries, there are dash symbols on currency note. There are Braille symbols on the currency note for the people who are blind to feel and make out the type of currency. Next, we have true or false. In 1809, Louis was 3 years old. It was 1812, so it's a false one. The awl had hit one of Mr. Braille's eyes. No, it had hit Louis Braille's eye. Okay. Louis was determined not to let his disability slow him down one bit. Absolutely correct. He was very determined and he really wanted to have something very strong for the people who were blind. Today, the blind can read maps in Braille. Absolutely correct. Even they can compose their own tunes, right? Music. Now answer the following questions. Who was Louis Braille? He was a child. He was a 3-year-old boy who used to live in a town near Paris. What did Louis realize when he reached the special school? Okay, so now let's come to the paragraph. Now, when he reached the school, he realized that there were special books for the blind to read, but then it used to take a lot of time. Coming to the next. What was night writing? So night writing was a method which was used by the French army to read the messages in the dark. Why did Louis get interested in night writing? He got interested because he himself wanted an alphabet code to make reading by touch quick and easy. So he got influenced. Describe briefly the system of reading and writing that Lewis developed. How is Braille used by the blind nowadays? Okay, so here we have the answer. Okay, where is it? In a flash. Differently. Okay. He worked on the alphabet made entirely. Okay, so from here we will say that he worked, Louis Braille, he worked on an alphabet made up entirely of 6 dots. The position of the different dots created the different letters of the alphabet. And then Louis, he used a blunt awl to punch out a sentence. And he could read it very quickly, and this is how he developed a new system of reading and writing for the blind people. And yes, this system of reading is used all over the world today, known as Braille, and it helps the blind people to read the maps. Then they can also connect to the online world, and they can also create their musical codes. The last one, how did India honor the achievements of Louis Braille? So, a few years ago, India issued a special 2 rupee coin to mark the 200th birth anniversary of Louis Braille. The coin bears his portrait and also has his name written in Braille. So, this is how, India has shown respect for him. So, that is all about the story. I hope you all loved it. And this must have really motivated you. It had really motivated me, inspired me a lot. So, I hope you all loved it. Learn something from it, get inspired, you should also be very much determined to do something, help others out, right? And read the story once again, go through the exercise. See you tomorrow. Till then, take care. Happy learning.